we have the cylinder head set up here, and it's sitting up just on a couple of bits of wood, and we found a guide. Now I use New Way cutters, so have a look at New Way cutters. There's a website for them and all that. You can buy them online, but they're quite expensive, and you get a cutter with some blades in it, and replaceable blades, and we can move them up and down depending on what we need to do, how big the seat is. And we have a 46 degree this side and a 31 the other. So that 1 degree angle just helps your valve wear better. So the inlet and exhaust valves on this engine are different sizes, but they're both 45 degree. So we have a flat here. Now you can see the little flat on the valve. The old valves were getting thin, and on the exhaust valves, if it's too thin, it burns around the corner, and that's how you get a burnt valve. Now you have a surface area here which is 4 millimeters, a little bit over 1/8 of an inch, and what we're looking to do is have the valve seat. If I colour all that in, then just wipe the top edge off. That's not a very good example, really. We're looking to leave about a 1/16 of an inch above. So if we have the valve surface area, something like that, can you see that? I think you can. We don't want it sitting right up on the corner here, on the inlet or the exhaust. We want it around midway on this surface here. So over time, because we know this tractor was dusted, the inlet valves have got a round seat on them now. They've worn round, so the exhaust is still fairly true. So I've got a thumbnail dipped in tar here, bit of a guide to see. So normally on this cylinder head, this here would be 45, and when the valve comes down, and that's the valve head roughly, and so we want this to seat around the middle, possibly up towards the top a little bit, but around the middle of that seat. Now over time, because the valve goes up and down, up and down, up and down, it wears into here. So we end up with a worn patch here. Then of course, as this valve wears down further, this seat, it wears and it gets a little bit wider, and the valve, instead of just sealing halfway there or a little bit in the middle, this gradually works up and up and up to the outside edge. And the valve tends to sit really low, and with it sitting low, you get the exhaust gas burning over the edge. Now, to set valve clearance, you'll notice you have to set valve clearance after a little while. Now, when we have our valve here again, have our seat and our valve, as that valve sits down into the seat, down the other end of the valve here, the valve clearance disappears. So this whole valve comes down because of wear, so that valve clearance disappears. So what happens then is that you have your valve sitting here, and because your valve clearance or valve slack hasn't been taken up for a while, this valve ends up riding, and when it's supposed to be shut, there's actually a little gap there, and the exhaust gases through combustion, they leak out of there and they just burn the corner off this valve. So now with the with the inlet on this tractor, it comes around and it just curls like that, and the dirt over time has worn in there, and then this valve here, it had a really curved head in it, and that rounds from the dust and the abrasion coming in. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring a cutter down, we're going to flatten this surface out, so that's 45 degrees. Now what happens is when we cut the 45 degrees, this of course gets wider, and it may have started out up here, you know, this wide before, but because we put a cutter in, and the cutter comes down over the top there, and the cutter cuts the seat, this seat gets wider and wider and wider, and all of a sudden the valve here, this seat can be as wide as the seat on the valve, and that's no good. So with the valve here, and the seat getting wider and wider, well, the seat gets as wide as this surface here, which is just no good. Now, what we do then is we bring in a 30-degree cutter, and we actually cut the top off that. And by cutting the top off that, we can actually bring that surface or that contact area to where we want it. If this gets too low down here, we can pop a little bit off here with a 60 or something like that too. But so for this exercise, what we'll be doing, we'll be cutting the 45 and we'll be knocking the 30 off the top, and we can then check on our new valves. They're brand new valves. The old ones didn't have enough meat to warrant grinding again. So with new valves, we need to straighten up the 45 here. We need to make sure that surface there is good, and that will be too wide. You could bet lefty on that. So we're gonna cut the top off and drop the seat down in the head a little bit. So anyway, follow along. I hope you can understand that. Clear as mud. But anyway, we'll see how we go. All right, I better get my blackboard out of the way. And we have a guide. Now, these are specifically ground guides, and the new valve guides that we put in, this cutter guide fits in it snugly. There's no movement there. There's none at all. So first up, we have to check 45 degree. This is 46 degree. So if we put that down there, will that cover the seat that we need to cut? And yes, looks like it does. So let's give it a bit of a turn and see what sort of mark we get. It's that easy. I'll take the guide out so you can see. So you can see that we're cutting down the bottom, we're cutting down here, and we're also cutting up here a little bit. Now that little lip there, I can actually feel that, and that's where the valve had actually sunken down into the head. So it had sunken down just from wear. So what we need to do is get that out again. I'm probably going to have to sit these boards here up on their edge. So we put our guide in once more. We put the cutter there at 46, make sure it's okay. I have some synchro stone cutters too that you can grind a stone to match a particular thing. So there's still a slight mark there where that other lip was. Now I'm going to turn it over, and if we run the 30, See where the 30 is up here? So you have to be careful that you don't take the 30 out too wide and it comes into your fire ring out here. So the 30 actually needs to, the stones need to come in a little bit. So, and that's as easy as loosening these off and popping them in. And that may leave a little lip down here, but look, there's nothing wrong with it. That'll be fine. And you can just see it there. You can see that shiny mark with the 30 coming down. So we will probably bring that down until it just touches the top. The other option is put new inserts in. We don't need to do that in this head. So you can see that the 30 is just touching there now. So you got to run a balancing act on how far you go, how far down does your valve sit. Is it going to sit too low? Will it affect anything and all that? So that there does look too wide, like it's wider. It's wider than the seat on the valve. But as the valve sits down, the bottom edge will come up there. So I might just give that another quick run. If I can find the hole. Make sure we have the right one there. Right, we've taken it down a little bit. I may even drop a bit off that edge later, up this top edge. We have a bigger 30 cutter and I might just take a little bit off if I think it needs it, but we'll just play it by ear. So with this valve sitting in there now, I will have to pick the head up onto these boards with the boards on the edge. Oh, you're still sort of in frame. I might bring this camera up a little bit. But with this valve here, we clean that out. We run a bit of Nico around the valve, bit of Sharpie. Some of the cutters you see on eBay, cheap Chinese ones, I reckon if you just had one engine to do, that'd be worth looking at. Now you can see here, can you see there? I think you can. You can see there that this edge has been touching and it's touching there. So that's a bit high, we need to pull all that down again. So by running the 30, we should be able to bring that down to, look, something like that anyway. And if the valve goes down a little bit far, well, we can sort that out as we go. The seat's quite wide here yet. You can see the width of it from there down. So it is quite a wide seat. We don't need it that wide. And never do the bottom cut first because you'll run yourself out of meat. See the 30 lengths. Pay attention. We have a fair way to go, so that's dropped it quite a bit. Give that a wipe. We'll get our valve. Give that a wipe. Clean all the Sharpie off it. You can use bearing blue. And we'll do a bit more colouring in. You can hear the door banging in the background, just the breeze hitting it. I'll have to go and, I usually put a wedge in it, and I haven't done that one back door this morning. Okay, that can drop in there. Go back and forth a couple of times. Right, we're getting more hit on one side than the other just at the moment, which I'll have to have a look why. That should be an even mark all the way. I actually lap my valves. They say with these cutters you don't need to, but I actually lap them in with a little bit of valve grinding paste too. With the 46-degree cutter I shouldn't need to, but it's something I like to do. But yeah, just not quite touching around the back end there. So we wouldn't want to go any further with that. That's quite low on the valve. Possibly just knock a little bit off the bottom to bring it up off the bottom. Then by the time we lap it, it should be okay. I'll just go and see if I've got a 60 cutter set up. Now that's a 60. Now these are just bloody savage. So you don't want to get too excited with this one. So I come up just a little more. Right, you can see our valve seat. Is between those two marks there. So that's a nice width for a valve seat. We'll give all the give it a bit of more colouring in. So it takes a while, this job, like it's not something you do before brekkie. Inlet valves can run cooler because they're bringing cold air in, but these exhaust valves, that's where all the hot goes round the corner. Give me a good twist just to try and show you a decent mark if I can. I've still got a bit of a dead patch about the back here somewhere. I'll have to sort that out. Yeah, that's, you can see it's just touching there, but oh, probably by the time I lap that, that'll be okay. But the bottom, we're just starting to pick up the bottom there. With the 60 cutter bringing the bottom edge of the chamfer up. Only just. All right, I'll just give it another rub. And then I think we best leave it all alone. Okay, I'd actually gone the wrong way. I had to put the cutter in, open the 45 up a little bit more, and then drop the top down. So look, we've got not a bad mark there now. It's you can see there's a little bit of a mark on the top there where we're down from the top surface a little bit. Then you can see there's a little black mark down here where we're a bit the same. So we have the top, so we have a clear area where we haven't got the steel in the head taking the nicco off, then we have a mark down the bottom. So we have this line through the middle, and that's just back and forth in one spot. It's slightly uneven, I don't know why. Our guide is firm, but what I'll do from here is I'll lap these valves in each one, and I should be able to show you the grey pattern from where they get lapped in. And these inlets are going to take quite a while. They're very worn seats, and possibly I should be putting inserts in, but I can't do that here. I'd have to send it away to do that. And I think it'll be okay by the time we get them all sorted out. So that's what the process is, at least. I'll work through these other ones. Like I say, I won't film it. This is like half a day's work getting them all sorted here, but hopefully later we can show. And we're working towards putting the head studs back in the engine, and with the head studs back in the engine, that means we can pop the head on. We have new cam followers or new tappets to go in, and we can run through that. But this will take a while. I'll leave it for that at the moment, and once we get closer to done, I'll come back. Okay, that's all the seats cut. Hopefully you can see where the seats are sitting on the valves, on the inlets and exhausts. So yeah, look, that should seal. We should have nice compression there now. And all it needs, we've got them all marked so we can't get them all mixed up. And everything's filthy dirty. So we'll go and wash it all up, and we'll assemble the head, and we should be getting ready to, well, getting close to ready to put the head studs in and pop the head on, but we'll get all this done first.